I want to welcome you to another episode of The Thread, even though I'm not supposed to be here. We're going through the miracles of Jesus right now. We've been doing this for a while. And I came across one in Luke 13. Now, I'm going to be honest. I've overlooked it. I've never really paid attention to this until this week. So we're going to roll through this because there's some interesting things that I didn't know about this that we're going to talk about a little bit tonight. So without further ado, because I am on vacation, let's roll through this. Welcome to The Thread. I'm going to set the scene for you here. We're in Luke chapter 13. And in verses 10 through 17, we find that Jesus is teaching, as he often does in one of the synagogues on the Sabbath. Now there's a crowd, because when Jesus spoke, there was a crowd, plus it was a synagogue. Synagogues were busy on a Sunday, on a Saturday. So the Sabbath, it is what it is. And with the people gathered, Jesus speaks here. In the crowd is this woman who has been crippled, they say, by the Spirit for 18 years. She was bent over and she couldn't even straighten up. In modern day terminology, we could probably call this a severe case of scoliosis. But this woman's been suffering for nearly 20 years, 2 decades. And her condition, kind of like the woman with the issue of blood, has probably isolated her from her community. I mean, let's look at our own world here. We often see people that don't look like us, or that have an ailment, or have a frailty, or have a limp, or don't look like us, and we often discard them. This woman was probably much the same way. As Jesus is teaching now, he notices this woman. He noticed something about this woman that's very specific. She's filled with hope, and she's filled with faith. And she makes her way to Jesus. And the Pharisees and the other religious leaders are also there because they're always watching Jesus to see what's going to happen. Not because they're interested in what he's going to do. They're trying to find a way to put him to death. And Jesus is filled with compassion at this woman. She is totally, he's filled with compassion. And he lays his hands on her. And she is instantly healed. And the woman is overwhelmed with gratitude and joy. And she stands up straight for the first time in 18 years. Think about that. And she's praising God. Now I want you to think about this for a minute. The Pharisees who saw miracle after miracle after miracle, had Jesus right in front of them, couldn't bring themselves to praise God because of him. This woman is healed, and her first response, praise God. How much different would our lives be if we did that? I don't know. That just gets me, ooh, yeah. But the Pharisees, like I said, they're indignant. They're more mad that Jesus performed a miracle on the Sabbath than happy that he healed somebody. So they begin to criticize Jesus for breaking the rules, for breaking the Sabbath laws by healing on that day. But here we go, Jesus again. I love Jesus. He points out their hypocrisy, emphasizing that the importance of showing mercy and compassion supersedes the legalistic adherence to rules. And the scene serves us as a powerful reminder of how Jesus taught on love, compassion, and something we lose a lot, the true spirit of the law. See, the Pharisees, however, they just don't get it. So if you look at this here, Jesus demonstrates some lessons here about prioritizing compassion and love over law. See, the story of Jesus healing this woman, it should challenge you to look at the legalistic mindset that we often had, where rules are often placed above the needs of people. Rules are often placed above the well-being of individuals. See, Jesus not only showcases his divine power here, but he also emphasizes the value of showing kindness and mercy to others, especially when there's a time of need. See, by choosing to heal this woman, no matter what day it was, despite it being the Sabbath, it should prompt us to question our own attitudes and the actions toward those around us sometimes. My friends, do we prioritize religious rules and traditions over extending a helping hand to somebody who's in distress? Are we more concerned with maintaining appearances and upholding strict rules rather than showing empathy and care to those who are suffering? Are we ever like that? See, Jesus' actions here remind us of the importance of something: treating others with compassion and understanding, even if it means going against societal norms. So, my friends, let's strive to take this lesson and illuminate Jesus' example of love and mercy in our own lives. That's one lesson I got. We also need to understand about Jesus in the midst of his teaching in a synagogue on the Sabbath encounters a woman who had been crippled for 18 years. I already did that. Sorry. I retyped. But there's a significance to this encounter. There's another significance. And it lies not only physical healing that takes place, but in the deeper spiritual implications that are coming here. See, the woman's long-term suffering symbolizes the enduring struggles that you and I face every day. How many of us had something for 18 years we've been trying to shake? How many of us? It highlights the need for liberation. It highlights the need for restoration in various aspects of our life, my friends. See, Jesus declared, "Woman, you are set free from your infirmity." That's what he said. And his words resonate beyond the physical realm, my friends. They signify a profound release from bondage. The act of healing embodies the essence of what Jesus was all about in his ministry: to bring freedom, wholeness to those who around him were burdened and oppressed. That was the crux of his whole ministry. And it serves as a reminder for you and me of the transformative power of Christ. The power to break chains. The power to restore your dignity, my friends. See, my friends, but the reaction of the synagogue leaders, this indignant attitude they had, reveals the tension that was existent between legalism and compassion. See, Jesus' response emphasizes the value of human life. And it tells us to prioritize mercy over ritualistic observance. It challenges to reevaluate our attitude towards rules, our attitude towards regulations in the light of the care of others. It challenges to rethink how we do church in many ways, if you truly take this to heart. See, there's some parallels here. If you look at Matthew 12, Isaiah 58, Galatians 5, we see this theme of liberation, my friends. The justice that he talks about. The true meaning of what worship should be, not what we make it. And these reinforce this account in Luke by urging us to prioritize kindness, justice, and freedom in our interactions with others. In worship to God. See, in our universe, many of us, this passage is going to resonate. Because many of us have real struggles. I have been on a social media platform for about a month now. And I've heard so many heartbreaking stories. Now I know some of them are made up. But there's enough of those that are true that'll break your heart. So whether it be physical ailments or emotional burdens or a spirit of oppression that takes over people's lives in these situations, the need for healing, the need for liberation remains prevalent. See, Jesus' actions here serve as a beacon of hope for you and I. It reminds us that through Him, we can find freedom, my friends. Freedom from the chains that bind us. And we can experience true restoration. Restoration is made anew. I want you to go here with me for a moment. Imagine a scenario where a person is trapped in addiction. They find a supportive community. They extend love and compassion. They lead him towards freedom and healing. This illustrates what the woman was going through and what she encountered with Jesus. It illustrates how acts of kindness, understanding can pave a way for liberation and transformations in the lives of the people that you and I know in the midst of their suffering. My friends, this text encapsulates the ministry of Jesus. A mission of liberation, a mission of compassion, a mission of restoration. And it should challenge us to embody those principles in our interactions with others. Prioritizing mercy over legalism and extending hope and healing to those in need. As you and I reflect on this passage, as I have reflected on this passage, I have been even more inspired to emulate Christ's example of love and grace in my daily life. And I pray it encourages you as well. Because we're called to bring light and freedom to a world that is in desperate need of the transformative power of Jesus Christ. But how can we do this? How can we prioritize passion over legalism in our own lives? How do we do this? To do this, we can look at how Jesus did what he did in this text. This little forgotten text that I have breezed over 1,000 times. And then it hit me like a ton of bricks right in the face. See, Jesus shows compassion, my friends, by healing a woman on the Sabbath, despite what the religious leaders were going to say, who emphasized strict adherence to the law. But Jesus prioritized well-being and dignity in a crippled woman over rigid legalistic interpretations. My friends, we can follow this example in our life. We can follow Jesus' example in our lives, my friends, by just simply recognizing the importance of compassion and mercy towards others. This means being willing to act in kindness, act in understanding, even when it goes against the norm, even when it goes against the rules, even when it goes against the regulations, my friends. See, we have to prioritize compassion over legalism, my friends. Because when we do it, it allows us to see the needs of others. And to respond with what we should respond with, love and empathy, my friends. Instead of cold adherence to a set of rules. The rules that may often overlook the human element of what ministry is all about. I've said it in my sermons a million times. If you're a person of Christ, you're in the people business. That's what we do. My friends, we can cultivate a heart that is open to this in our own lives. It's open to the struggles and the suffering of those around us. Instead of focusing on rules, focusing on compassion. This approach is vital when we form relationships. We have to understand, we have to show kindness rather than simply a set of rules. Because prioritizing compassion, my friends, brings healing. It brings restoration. My friends, it brings a deeper connection with others. Because that's what Jesus showed us. My friends, can you be the same beacon of kindness in your world? Can you seek out those who need help? Whether they're struggling at work or home or in their hearts. And instead of being judgmental or saying, this is the book and it says this letter for letter, be a helping hand that lifts them up instead of holds them down. Because that's what Jesus did. That's what he did. My friends, I want to encourage you. I want to encourage you today. Our modern world is full of challenges, my friends. But in a world full of challenges, it is chock full, it brims with opportunities for you and I to make a difference. For you and I to truly make a difference. Why do we do this? To make a difference. My friends, question for you as I close this. How will you be the healing light in your community, in your household, in your workplace, in the Walmart down the street where God knows they need Jesus? How will you do that today?